Have you ever wondered what separates the people who seem more confident more of the time? Like nothing can ever stop them. They take everything in their stride. You know, like James Bond or King T'Challa in Black Panther, these characters that we've seen in movies and TV and all these other things in our lives. How do they stay at that limitless, boundless confidence? And what is it that causes you and I to not have that? What is the difference? And in this video, in this course, in fact, we're going to go in depth into some of those reasons and factors. And I'm going to reveal the information that you need, the techniques that you need, the exercises you need, the mindset that you need in order to get there. Now, the first mistake that leads to that crippling self-doubt is generic, poor advice like be yourself, just relax. It's generic advice like this, big statements that are really cliche, that don't actually give us any practical tips on what we should and shouldn't do, that really damage our self-esteem. And why is that? Well, if you're somebody who isn't confident, who is suffering from anxiety, who is feeling depressed, and I've been there myself. I used to have such bad anxiety and such low self-confidence that even being late for school used to trigger anxiety and panic attacks. And I remember walking all the way into my classroom, I'd be late, I'd work myself into a panic, I'd feel really bad, crushing anxiety, so much so that I would feel like I can't breathe. And then I'd enter the classroom, all the other kids are looking at me, the teacher's looking at me, and he's giving me this look like, oh man, like here we go again, you know, it's just like I was unwanted, you know? And then I would have to go and sit in the corner on my own to try and relax myself, but I didn't know what to do. And so if at that moment, at such a young age, if you came up to me and said, just be yourself, what do I do with that? And so often that is the advice that we're given, that it's like this magic mythical quality. And that brings me to the second mistake, and that is this kind of advice that we so often get, and it might be well-meaning. It suggests to us that confidence, charisma, all these mythical qualities that we admire and aspire to, it makes us think that they're innate, like you're just born with it, that there are people who are leaders, there's the confident people over here, and then the rest of us. Well, that's what this course and all of these videos are going to be all about, is dispelling those myths and giving the power back to you. Because let me tell you the honest truth, it's nothing fancy. There is no magic pill. There's no coat that you can wear, no new haircut that you can get, or a car that you can buy, or a supermarket that you can go to where you can just shake someone's hand and get confidence from them. It's simple things, simple actions done consistently that produce that confidence. Let me give you a quick example. I want you to imagine that your confidence is like this glass of water. Now, there is a bit of water in here already. When you buy a new set of clothes, you're adding water into the cup. When you buy a new car, you're adding more water into the cup, but it's only increasing a little bit what's already there. So if I drink the rest of this water, almost spilled it, and I'm feeling really low and I don't have a lot of confidence or self-esteem or self-acceptance in my cup already, these generic bits of advice, these surface level changes, they're not really going to help this to increase that much. It's not going to overflow and ooze with confidence. And the difference between the people who have the high levels of confidence, the boundless charisma that we admire, and you, is just they've kept that cup overflowing with the hacks, tools, mindset, tricks, and techniques that I'm gonna cover in this video and the rest of this series. Now, the next point when it comes to confidence is subliminally, the message that we're given is you should wait for the feeling of confidence rather than the action that produces confidence. I've said this many times in hundreds of workshops that I've done with thousands of clients and people that I've worked with at this point. Because when we go into schools, it's something that we always look at, confidence. How do we create more confidence? It's not something that you're taught at school. And one of my companies, Revolution Hive, goes in and does this. And the key point that I always make is this. Confidence is not an input, it's an output. There are actions that you take that produce confidence. Now, have a look at your life. Grab a pen and paper and think about what are the actions, the behaviors that you've taken in the past that create confidence. Because let me reveal a myth, dispel a myth for you. Let me reveal something to you. If you want to be more confident, if you want to have more charisma, and you can notice it, you can spot it in other people and even in yourself, well, that gives you a really important clue. And that clue is, if you know what confidence is, that means you must have felt it before. If you know what it feels like when you're confident, that means you felt it before. And if you felt it before, you can feel it again. I just noticed my hair is just flying out there. If you felt it before, you can feel it again. So all you need to make it more consistent is to figure out what that thing was, what the conditions, the enabling factors of boundless confidence were, and then just to create those factors again and again and again. So like a scientific equation, you're the master of that. You're putting all the variables in line, so it's not left to chance. Your success is not coincidental, but it's by design. You are the master of it. The fourth mistake that you absolutely need to watch out for, and I would say this is probably, after the next point, the number one factor that cripples people, and it's the idea of how things should be. I should be more confident when I'm at work. I should be more confident in exams. I should be more confident when I'm speaking. I should be more confident when I'm at home. I should have said this. I should have behaved like this. We do this to ourselves all the time. And you know what we're doing when we say this to ourselves? This self-talk, this mental movie that we're playing, what we're really saying is, that wasn't good enough. That wasn't good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. And what do you think happens over time? If you have, science and studies estimate that you have between 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day. Now, if you're saying this to yourself, even a third of the time, if you have 10,000 thoughts a day, which say, I should have woke up early, I should have done this. What do you think that's going to do to your confidence? What effect do you think it's going to have? And I do an exercise I mentioned earlier when we go into schools and we work with young people, teaching them this stuff that you don't learn in a textbook. I say to them, okay, I want you to stand at the front of the room and I want you to be confident. And you know what 99% of people do? They stand like this. And as you can see, it's really postured. I'm positioning myself in a certain way. And if I say to you instead, just stand comfortably. Which one seems more confident to you? Confidence is not about how it should be. And as soon as you let go of the idea of that, you leave space for the real you to be able to express itself or yourself. And that's what we so often do, is we see Barack Obama or Tony Stark or Donald Trump, whoever your person is that you admire, hopefully not Donald Trump though, and you try to project their confidence that you see on the outside onto you. But confidence for you and confidence for somebody else, they look totally different. Consider, the confidence that Frankie Boyle has, the comedian, or George Carlin, versus somebody like King T'Challa, who we're going to look at later on in this course, or James Bond. It's totally different levels. A comedian versus, someone like The Rock. Very different levels of confidence, very different displays of confidence. The fifth mistake, and I think this is actually the most important that you're probably making, that's crippling your confidence and making you feel more self-doubt, is your measure of confidence is all wrong. You need to change the word confidence to competence. So often when we don't feel confident in an area, what we actually mean is, I don't feel competent in this area. So let me give you an example. If you ask me to do a freestyle dance right now, I'm not going to be confident. If you ask me to do Dandiya Ras or Garba, which is a traditional Gujarati folk dance, I know how to do that. So I'm going to know and have the competence to do those things. You've met my good friend Lewis. He's a way better dancer than me. So if you had us head to head, he's going to destroy me. But if you ask us to do, you know, salsa versus hip hop breakdance, we may have different levels of competence, and so we may be more confident in one than the other. Now, I'm gonna show you a table here to give you an illustration of how this plays out in your day-to-day life. Now, let's look at something like playing the guitar or revision. You might start off not very competent. So your focus shouldn't be on how you can be more confident. It's how can I be 1 to 4% more competent? So if you're the lazy procrastinator and you haven't done any revision and you know your exam's coming up in 2 weeks, maybe your focus shouldn't be on spending 12 hours a day on revising. Maybe your immediate focus to go 1 to 4% more should just be get to the library. And then when you've done that on day 1, on day 2, your focus could be, I'm gonna stay in the library for 4 hours. And then your focus could be, I was productive in the library for 4 hours. And then your focus might be, I did a week of productivity for 4 hours in the library. Do you see how it builds one step after the other? It's like a ladder. We look at the top and we see confidence and we want to be there. But when you climb a ladder, what do you see? There are rungs that you have to climb. You put one foot on one rung and then the next and the next and the next. And it's the same process. At the top is confident competence, but at the bottom is incompetence. I am incompetent at playing the drums or the guitar. But if I diligently practice every single day and I improve again and again, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's just a tiny habit done again and again and again, improved again and again and again. And what do you end up with? You end up with that feeling, that byproduct of confidence that we all admire. And so when you compare yourself to the best drummer out there, the best student out there, the best entrepreneur, these people like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, Eric Thomas, all these individuals on YouTube, these big YouTube stars, they've done it hundreds and thousands of times. So Grant Cardone doing a cold call versus me doing a cold call, you doing a cold call, it's very different levels of competence. So don't judge yourself according to someone else's level of competence. Look at where you are now and what you can do today. And the final one, your self-esteem is basically about how much you like yourself. And here's the interesting thing. Studies show that when you're happy, you're less likely to procrastinate, you're healthier, you're more confident. But here's the drawback of this. We basically judge ourselves and like ourselves based on how much we succeed. So if I do a keynote speech tomorrow at an event and I don't speak very well and I make loads of mistakes and I mumble and stumble when I'm very early on in my speaking career, I'm not gonna like myself very much, because if I'm measuring myself based on if I succeed or fail, my self-esteem is gonna be going like this, up and down all of the time. So in the future video, in the next video, we're gonna look at, instead of focusing on self-esteem, which plummets and goes back up again, you should focus on another quality, and that quality is self-compassion. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave your comments down below. Like seriously, I want to see you comment. I'm putting all this time, energy, effort. I love hearing from you. So I don't want you to think of it like some generic thing that I'm just saying for the sake of it. I genuinely want to hear from you. Tell me what you think down below. Make sure that you subscribe or you won't hear about the next video, like I said. And I'll see you in the next episode to help you build boundless confidence. Peace.